talk about us. We're holding a 94% accuracy rating from day one. We don't know any analyst who can pull that off, and we do. So we also occasionally will do some...
Wait. I mean, Kathy Wood and Jim Cramer do. It's just,
the opposite though.
It's just inverted. It's 94% wrong.
Good point. Yeah, I 100% agree. And I mean, if S. Jim would have gotten a little more volume, I think it would still be kicking ass today. Just come to think of it.
I know. I mean, he would have had to turn on NVIDIA.
True.
I mean, even a broken clock is right twice. I did just find out Kathy Wood still hates me yesterday too. So I can say whatever I want. I don't have to worry about pissing her off. She already hates me.
It would be fun to have her as a guest on this show.
I heard yesterday, I don't think that's likely.
No, not likely. Darn. All right, well, maybe she can start watching our show at least and taking some advice. Because
I mean, definitely she should watch it to get some good picks.
Because we're killing it. Yeah, well.
I mean, my AI picks are way more innovation than her picks. So
agreed, dude. Your AI picks are killing it, and it's in a sector that kind of got overlooked by pretty much everyone else. But it's starting to get attention now. Maybe we're pulling some weight with it, but I think some of those energy sector in the AI space stocks are just starting to rotate very nicely. And you're right. I think there's some serious potential there. So I'm thinking we could probably start today with a bit of a review from our Tuesday callouts, which we've just absolutely shelled the world with. But now we're looking at some other stuff coming into play here that has just been leaning on the tech stocks a bit, but a couple of lesser knowns that are starting to pop up. So I think I'll pull that up real quick here, get my list going. So from last week, we did call out one other thing I wanted to mention before we get too involved here. Let me get my single grid up. We've got a lot of stuff moving. I've just been rocking it all day. Go to the daily. Yeah, I'm going to go to the 5 minute. I'm going to open up right away with something you launched yesterday that's just been absolutely killing it. MSTU, for those who don't know. Brand new ETF launched by yours truly over here, Mr. Matthew Tuttle. And, dude, that is for day two volume incredible. I mean, we got full candles.
Yeah, we've launched some pretty popular ETFs before. I mean, we're at $18 million traded 2 hours in. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. We don't have options listed yet. We'll have those tomorrow, by the way, for you options guys. I mean, I've never seen that on day two of a launch. I mean, NVDX is our biggest ETF and the one that trades the most. I mean, it's traded 60 million so far today. MSTU is almost a third of that. I mean, that's just crazy.
That's insane. And from day two, I mean, that's great. I mean, we go from ticky-tacky candles from yesterday to full candles today. That says volume explosion all over it on day two. That's incredible. And if you don't already know, it's just a 2x leveraged ETF on MSTR. It's a one equity leveraged ETF, and these things are really...
Which we were just talking. I do really like the chart of MSTR right here.
Yes.
And I wrote about this in my newsletter this morning. I had talked to a reporter maybe a couple weeks back about whether... if Trump won, whether that would be a positive for Bitcoin, if Bitcoin was kind of a Trump trade. At the time, I didn't think so. But, now I think, I think his interest in crypto is genuine. Whether he'll win or not, I have no idea. But if he does, I am sort of starting to think that it's a positive for crypto stuff.
Some of the folks on the QM network there were talking about that yesterday, and it was a bit of a joke, but it was also a bit of it almost appeared a bit of a, kind of a statement. I guess Trump paid a bill with Bitcoin yesterday, and the joke was, oh, it finally paid for something. Well, yeah, I mean, the dude does pay his bills. Let's just say that, but to go and pay it with Bitcoin, that's a statement. And I think, leaning into that, if things start to sway that way, digital currencies will actually start to become useful as a currency instead of, volatile as a trading vehicle. So in the outlook, does that mean that Bitcoin will stabilize in a range and along with all the other digital currencies, or is that going to be just as volatile but now with more volume? So that's the question, I think.
It'll be interesting.
For sure.
No idea.
So yeah, I mean,
But I like having both sides. We've got long and short micro strategy, and we have long and short spot Bitcoin. So either way, we will participate.
Absolutely, it all becomes profitable one way or another. I mean, the setup so far here on MSTR, we've got a liquidity range right here in the middle of a mean reversion on this entire high to low. We're just under the low end of that. So I'm looking for a 148 push today for this candle. And then maybe if we get into like the 152, 153 area, we could break out and shoot for an get a measured move here. I like to take these to the previous consolidation to be a little more conservative though. So I would say like something along these lines. I'll change my shading so I don't blind those who have contrast vision issues.
For me, I think that, it broke through the 50-day, which is something I like to see. Looks to me like that 152 level is going to be resistance.
Agreed. And that's kind of right in that liquidity zone edge, right at that 152 area. And a measured move from this, if you take it to the mean and stack it up, the extension would be like 158.25, almost to the number. And if this spells trend and this spells double bottom, that kind of makes sense to come back and test that for support. So maybe we'll see a test back to 153 or right around R1 here, if you look at it as a double bottom. It's not, it's just a consolidation. But same difference with price action for short-term, medium-term stuff. So over the next couple of weeks, we could see a push to that target back here for testing support, and then maybe we get into trend style and start to really walk out on this. Looking left, this is just part of a much bigger picture here. And this thing has seen market structure play out before. It's had the first hype wave. It had the mean reversion, had the capitalization period, had the accumulation period, had the breakout back into reversions over and over again. Now we got this massive impulse move. If things get really nutty, I don't want to be the guy who calls this thing like, the moon, but potentially that's an explosive maneuver, guys. And, look at the big picture, long-term stuff. Maybe we could see this thing in within a year, maybe a little over a year, touch the 230 level. I think that's within reason. So, that's something to kind of look into. This is both a great trading stock as well as an investor stock. So choosing it for a leveraged ETF, on the money, baby. Good stuff. I think that popularity is definitely warranted. Cool beans, man. I really like that one. Good call. Reflecting on a couple others so we can, continue to bend our elbows and pat ourselves on the back. TEM, killing it, making moves towards that reversion trade. Didn't you just get the dip on this one a little bit?
I did. I bought, on Tuesday we were talking about it. So yeah, I bought the dip on Tuesday. So
nice work.
It's been 30 months.
Came right back through our regression line from our previous wedge. I always extend those out. This one's a little skewed, by the way. I just adjusted it to when we called it out on Tuesday. I adjusted that, and then we're going to take the same center point, put a split line right in here. Price target. So we have our.
Yeah, no, I bought. This is a long-term play for me, so I bought January calls. So up 11%.
Nice. It's got more. If it breaks out above this angular here on this fan, I build fan lines all the time. For those who know me on the inside of the Bullish Bears group, fan lines are our friends on every time frame, and this is exactly what kind of play this is built for. So we talked about it Tuesday, looking at the dip, holding support on our extended regression from this wedge here, and then sure enough, played right out, went right up to the next target. This happens to be wicked right to the 86.6 fib of the previous high. like clockwork, man. This is easy stuff. If we accumulate over today and go make it through witching day, tomorrow's quad witching day, look for range, look for choppiness. If by some miracle tomorrow becomes a trend day, and it has happened on quad witching days before, it'll pretty much get out of hand because market participation just falls right into that when they see it. But if it doesn't happen, if it doesn't draw in a whole bunch of participation and everybody just kind of sits on their hands, expect range and chop and just, I would find something better to do than trading tomorrow in that case. Although I do love scalping the futures in the range. Going into next week, though, that's where we could see accumulations break, and maybe by Tuesday or Wednesday next week, we could see this particular equity find a nice primary, secondary move set up and push onward towards that reversion target, which is right up here at about $59.90, just about half of that trend. So yeah, we're liking this one too. And then to review a couple others, we went into I was praised yesterday by the Quasar Market team for this call out yesterday on Snapchat. Out of nowhere, no real headlines to really push it anywhere. But the call out was we have a nice primary. We broke that resistance line around 950, and we just started trending, baby. And we've got a halfway target of about 1050 coming up here. And then if things get really participated in for a full-on breakout, we could even see it up here in 11, 12 bucks. But short term, I'm looking for this. Basic measured moves are pretty easy. We're above the one standard half measured move here. We may test it for support later, but the extension target here for this play is about 1055. So we're looking good on that one. And I'm long. I'm still long. I'll keep holding that one. And I might even sell some calls right around that level. So looking good. Look left further. That's accumulation area anyway. We're likely going to see that happen again. And if things get swifty and get a little bit more excitable, that's where that 1150 or 1190 target comes in. About half of that whole move or half that whole gap closes a little above. High side accumulation, 1150 to 1190. Pretty easy to see. So stick with it, man. This thing's looking good. What was the other one we looked at? OKLO. Dude, that thing is balling today. You got long on that one.
Yep.
And today we wicked right up to half a measured move. We plotted those pretty easy. I think we could see some accumulation and follow through. We might even see a full 1-for-1 up to 720. Maybe hit the reversion target 728. I think is about half that trend. Just eyeballing it.
I like these nuclears. So I may buy NNE on the dip today too. We'll see.
And that's that kind of blind spot. A lot of investors miss that. Everybody's chasing AI. Nobody realizes, hey, it costs energy to make that happen. There is no free lunch, just basic physics. Ask any physics teacher.
That brings up a great point. I mean, with everything, there's first order thinking, then there's second and third. Right. Second order thinking is, what are all the ancillary names that are, going to need to be involved in this? And then third order thinking is who's going to get hurt. So, I would also be looking on the AI trade to be shorting the companies that are going to get hurt. I mean, who's selling information that you can get for free or basically free on AI? And second order thinking is all the energy names.
That seems to be the thing. And then there's got to be one more. I mean, where's the middleman? There's typically a middleman somewhere. And I got to wonder where the benefit is. And primarily it's going to be marketing, I think. But
the middleman, I think, is going to be Apple.
Yeah.
And, I've talked about this before, but, given how much we all now do on our phones, if Apple integrates in AI on the iPhones, then it's going to control everything, our purchases, everything.
Absolutely. And that's where I was going. That's where the middleman is, the marketing space. Yep. And it's huge with Apple. So we all know that. So yeah, I think all three of those plays are just going to rotate and do their thing. Price action and market structure are just going to do exactly what they do. These are easy to find. And if you are a technical analyst out there who compounds that with your investment strategies, you win. That's just how we roll.
Yep.
Not looking too far away from that, we got two other techs to kind of cover on that. We started talking a little bit about NVIDIA. Met target, exceeded our reversion target. Now we're consolidated. We're looking for breakout now. And I talked about this on Tuesday. Got above that mean reversion. We built some serious momentum today. We came right up to the 86.6 fib of this wedge here and paused. If this accumulates and continues, we could see it trend all the way on up to the next LZ up here. And we could find 123 to 125 range pretty readily. If you get this whole primary move as a measured move, that's where we start talking about the 128 to 130 targets up here at the previous high.
I'm looking at the 130 kind of area with a lot of resistance there.
Agreed. And I think I'm going to make that my my analyst purple line, where I make a note about that. I turn them purple so they get my attention. But yeah, I think I can agree with that. That's where a lot of other analysts besides ourselves should be looking. We hope. Some of them are right, some of them are wrong. We know everybody's like a weatherman in that space, but we, like I said, we'll keep posting about that 94% accuracy, guys. It's not a lie. That's absolute truth. Go research our previous episodes and start doing the back logging on all of our call-outs. That's where we stand. We're really not finding a hard time with this. This is easy stuff for us. We always look to focus on the easy setups, and those primo setups are, when you know what to look for, they're a dime a dozen. They're easy to find. So everybody can be their own analyst, and that's kind of what we teach at Bullish Bears. But here on our show bi-weekly now, we make some call-outs, and we make it look easy. That's why we can hold such a high percentage rate of good quality call-outs. I think the only one I'm waiting on this week is T, and that looks like it's going to follow through. We'll get to that chart in a moment.
Yeah, as I was telling you before, I should have listened to you. I got stopped out on my T puts.
Oh no! I was looking for that pullback.
Wow! And they're, I was so far out of the money.
Yeah.
I mean, they're down today, but I was so far out of the money. If I'd held on to them,
would have got the nickel back instead of 2 cents.
Beyond repair.
Yeah, I was thinking it would get like somewhere between 5 and 6 cents back, and be at least a little bit less of a loss. But I didn't look at the chain, but I'm pretty sure they probably hit about that number.
Probably.
The other one we're looking at that's kind of a follow-up that we've been tracking for a while, and this is one of your call-outs from, I think, 2 weeks ago that we've been steady with, is Micron. And it's got this nice accumulation range. The market structure is just pulling together for a reversion trade eventually. And we're looking at this resistance level of $91 pretty, we're kind of licking our chops waiting for it to break out. But so far, I mean, since Tuesday, it's done some pretty nice little up moves. And $90 seems to be about the ticket for the key number to break. And then we should pick up some momentum, I think, and break that 91. We got some game. We got a pretty good reversion trade set up for that.
There's an undercut and rally at the August low, an undercut and rally at the 10-day. I do like this setup. 91.98 is the 20-day EMA, which is something I watch, so I'd like it to break through that. I do think longer term this is going to be one of the AI winners.
Agreed.
But we will see. Some companies will go the way of Intel, but I don't think these guys will.
Kind of an honorable mention in there. IBM. I mean, it's done very well this year. I haven't pulled it up. I haven't even done any dope on the thing, but that kicked butt, and then we got this beautiful pullback. I didn't get into this. I think I was kind of saving this for maybe next week to get into on Tuesday, but I can see a reversion trade to about 209.50 or so. We might find support there.
Let me know if you get it. I've been watching this. I think they could also be one of the winners in AI. I have not wanted to buy it on the way up. I've wanted to buy it on a dip.
Right.
I am a little bit worried that they've got the management team to really execute, which is also why I didn't want to buy it on an upturn.
Kind of
But
similar to
I
Intel.
mean, yeah, well, but except this has gone up in a straight line. I mean, what it was in the
Right.
160s a couple of months ago, and and it's IBM. You don't expect IBM to move from like 160 to 210 in like 3 months.
I mean, it's kind of walked every pivot I've ever printed on a darn thing. It does very well with it. Yeah, I agree though.
The beginning of August, when it undercut and rallied at a couple moving averages, that would have been the entry.
So if you got some folks who work for either IBM or Intel, who have access to put some bugs in the ears of management, and you're watching us, heed our advice. Fix your management issues and become highly profitable again. You guys have the potential to absolutely blow this out of the water with AI, and you're squandering a killer opportunity if you don't see that. And I know you probably do. So yeah, get your ducks in a row and start canning some unnecessary brass and start moving forward, because this is going to be bigger than you think. Sorry to say, I don't want to get sued for calling anybody out, but dude, you guys got to do something. Come on, fulfill your fiduciary duties. Thank you. Moving into T, and this is that pullback we were talking about. Can it go further and hit the move between moves, so to speak, and find support about 2040? Maybe it can continue to get that. Look further left, though. I mean, the reversion target is right there. We did extend right to a 1.5 measured move and reject yesterday at about 22.28 there, and then Tuesday it would have been a pretty fair entry to get short on that and get a little bit of a little bit of risk back on the losses for those puts. But I think maybe a possible roll might be in order to run back to that 2040 target. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's possible. I mean, this isn't a stock I'm gonna buy, especially, again, this looks like an AI stock. It's gone from 16 to a high over 22 in not too long a time. But
right,
certainly, I'd be looking at the 20-day, which is 2095, to see if that holds. It actually, this whole run, it really had. I mean, it's dipped below and then it's undercut and rallied above. So I'd look for that. Maybe a move to 2050 and then then buy it there.
Seems to be the logical thing to do, and technical analysis would agree for sure. It's such a large cap. It takes a lot of money to move this damn thing. The free float, I think it's in the billions. So it takes a hell of a lot of money to move this thing. So it's a slow mover, but it's been a dividend doll. At one time, back in 2020, I considered running this as a wheel trade, and I didn't really, put a lot of size into it. But it worked out for a while until I got called away, and I just washed my hands of it because it takes so long, But I mean, for a long-term investment, it's a good place to maybe park money when it's appropriate, catch the dips, and walk along, because it's a decent dividend-paying stock, and it kind of has been for a long time.
Yep.
They don't give up. They've got a monopoly on a lot of the communication sector, and it just is. It's, I guess you could call it the S&P of the communication sector, so to speak. It's got a lot of weight in it. The new stuff. I think I'd be best. Let's start with your list. You got a few good ones in there. We'll start with what, Smith & Wesson? I haven't even doped it yet. This is fresh.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, this is a gun company. This is one of my favorite themes, which is self-defense. So while everyone is arguing in the news, are Haitians eating cats or not? Did Venezuelans take over an apartment or not? And I don't know the answer to either one of those things. But what I do know is that when those headlines come out, people feel less and less safe. And when they feel less and less safe, they're going to go buy guns. They're going to go buy pepper spray. They're going to buy home alarms.
Machetes, swords.
Again, is Yeah, which is the premise behind GUNZ. But I do like this chart. It, got its butt kicked and now looks like it wants to fill that gap.
Agreed. I was looking at the daily and I'm like, well, it's a little choppy and messy, but that reversion play was dead on at $12, bounced right off. And then it's a good dividend paying stock too to boot. I mean, that's pretty nice. Reversion trade filling that gap is pretty appropriate to like 14 to 14.50. So I mean, we should see some movement here. Let's say about 14.40 would be a good mean reversion low target, and then the high target would be like 15-ish. Once it gets to that range, though.
1454 is the 50-day, 1472 is a 200-day. So have to break through those, but then got fairly smooth sailing into the higher 16s.
Makes sense. I'm liking the setup for at least a reversion trade, and I think this gap is likely to fill at least, run it to 14.10. Pretty good setup. Yeah, I think this will follow through pretty well. In fact, we already have on the 4 hour. Let me go to the 2 hour even. Draw some boxes. I love drawing boxes. They just work. Get some fresh dope live and direct. You guys can watch me think. Well, watch us think. Dang. So that gives us a little extension. Yeah, I think you're right on the money. About 14.50 would be the upper edge of that for a measured move. Cool. Well, we have it mapped out. There you go. Half a measured move is even appropriate, right at about 13.85. So good setup. I like Smith & Wesson. Very nice pieces. Well, let's see. The other part, you picked up NNE on the dip, and that's just humming along beautifully. I thought I had some dope on that chart. I guess I didn't. I think I just kind of mapped it out. 1 for 1, 1.5 is complete. Pull back for reversion. The lowest I could see it going for reversion is like 78.50, but I think it may hold here at the 20 day, right around 81.50. And that was a pretty good dip buy.
Yeah, I mean, it's held the 20-day through this whole move. This is, another AI energy play. And, and these utilities got extended, but, anytime I can get some more of one of these on a dip, I'll generally take it.
Good trending, pays a decent dividend. It's got all the makings of a good investment grade stock for sure. I like that dip too. If we get accumulation here, a quick reversion trade to like 83 and some change would be good. I'm going to put this on my radar. I'm going to watch this one. I was a little reluctant to get into this trend, and I was like you, I didn't want to buy it on the way up and then buy high, sell higher type of thing. And it did give us a couple of scared pullbacks since we have been talking about it. But I think in the long term, this one could give us some good opportunities. Might even I'll have to look at the options chain. If it's got a good tight bid ask spread on it, I might even consider selling some puts to get in on this one.
Yeah, I've never sold puts on it, but I buy calls on it, and I never have an issue buying calls.
Okay.
Occasionally, I'll finance the calls with a spread on XLU.
Right. Good play.
But I'll just buy it outright.
That's kind of where we align on a lot of option stuff is like using one set of options to pay for another. That makes a lot of sense. I'm probably just going to directly sell some puts. I like maybe sell a 79 put here for some a monthly and just work with it. I'll give that a good consideration. I'll keep this on my radar for sure. I like NNE now. I think that's why I didn't dope the chart. I was like, I'm a little reluctant to buy it here, but now we've got a nice pullback. We might see some action. Cool. MSTR, of course, we already talked about, and then there was Lilly. My goodness. That pullback was beautiful.
Yeah, and this is another theme I like is the weight loss drugs. I mean, yeah, again, I think they're abhorrent, but Americans are going to take a shot over changing their diet. So
Oh, for sure.
if I can buy this on a dip into the 50-day, I will do it. I mean, it does look a little double toppy here, but I don't think the demand is going anywhere. And, I'd be buying dips into the 50-day.
I like it. The only thing I would maybe worry about is this becoming a wedge here. That's a question. Yep. If we start to see, maybe not that steep, but let's give it the conservative look.
Now, this one, on the other hand, could be the reverse Trump trade.
Right.
Where if Trump wins, I think Bitcoin ramps. But if he brings Bobby in and Bobby's got say into the healthcare policy, I mean, he hates this stuff. So
He
this
does.
may hurt these drugs. So I would definitely keep an eye on that.
There could be some risk there.
Which is one reason why we never really decided to do a weight loss ETF. I mean, there are a couple anyway, but
yeah,
it's something I would normally do as just like, you know what? If
I mean, it was
too much risk.
Sort of like, back when everybody was going for that let's eat meat and skip the carbs diet situation, and now we've got all this anti-gluten movement and stuff. I'm indifferent to it. I'm on a seafood diet, but I exercise a lot, so but
we could have an interesting conversation. I have my own thing, but I veer more towards the carnivore than anything else.
Yes, dead animals are delicious.
Yep.
So best case scenario, I think we wedge out here and we find support along here, and then build us a good breakout trade. Worst case scenario, I think we hit regression for the big picture, mean reversion around 850 or so. Yeah, I'm going to keep this on my radar for sure. I missed the boat getting long on it back in this time, but I was doing other stuff. But I think I might take this into consideration. We got quite a broad range here to trade, so it might be worth doing some spreads on. I like it. I'll keep an eye on this one. I'm not bullish on it just yet personally, but unless it holds this angular here. But it may just do that and give us a nice little upper bull flag action and a full-on measured move breakout. That's possible. We could see this thing push 1,000, but I'm going to be a little skeptical at first. But I might see if we hold this angle and take a swing on it. Good setup.
I'll give you one more actually, and I can't even pull up a chart on it. I mean, it's probably some sort of penny stock. It's a theme I need to research more. But I spent about an hour this morning with a oncologist who does clinical trial stuff for like some sort of prostate cancer drugs that are targeted. So they'd go right after the cancer. Said, they're basically curing people who are in hospice.
Wow.
And it's the future. He said there are like 100 of these little companies that are doing these trials that are all going to get bought out by the big guys. And the one he gave me was CLRF.
CLRF.
And I can get the chart on Bloomberg. I can't get it on stock charts.
Yeah, it's a blank for me.
It's gone from 1 to 5.
CLRF. Yeah, it's not going to come up for me, but I get CLR. That's wrong.
Well, yeah, no, that's not it. So yeah, I mean, it's a theme I need to spend some more time on. He thought it'd be interesting for an ETF, but I mean, it's like 100 small companies, probably wouldn't work. But we'll see. It was definitely an interesting conversation, an area of healthcare I was not aware of. So
I got one a phone call from a company that makes call outs on I don't trade any OTC stuff really, but these guys, I think they're stock seekers or something like that. I don't even know how the hell I got on their call list, but I had a little conversation with the dude yesterday. And they seem interesting, but they make call outs on a couple of these really, really unknown, OTC type stuff. And I just kind of bounced back to him like, I really don't trade those, but I do love to scalp penny stocks that are traded on the NASDAQ. So like if I was to find something that maybe correlates with the CLR, I forgot the ticker already, but you know what I mean?
CLRF.
If I find something that'll correlate with it, like maybe one of their buyout targets or something like that, I could probably find some action to scalp.
Yeah, I mean, something to look at. And I mean, as we were talking, I tried to buy 1,000 shares on Webull, and Webull wouldn't let me buy it. So,
Yeah, I'm looking at Webull. I can't even pull up a chart
with this name.
So I'll keep an eye on it. I'll probably use. I could probably find it on my TradeStation account. I could probably pull it up there. But long story short, when you find stuff like that and you get a little inside, you get an oncologist talking to you about it. I mean, there's some potential there to make some serious cash, and there is some good plays to be had there.
That's why it caught my interest.
Exactly, and I get in contact with these guys, and they're pretty much everything they've sent me, I can see that someone pumped it. I mean, I can spot the manipulation on these OTC stocks a mile away, but they're still valid trades. The red flag that goes up for me is when they ask, "Hey, did you get in a position yet?" Why do you need to know? But nonetheless, when it comes to OTC, it's highly manipulated stocks end up there. When they fall off the NASDAQ, that's usually where they land. And then they sit there for a while. Some of them will bounce back. Some of them will come back and get relisted on either the NASDAQ. I've seen some come back on a New York exchange and so forth. But when it comes to being an investment vehicle, I'd rather scalp it when they're in that level. But occasionally I come across a penny stock that just does, follow through with full market structure. And hell, Snapchat's even one of them at this point, It never hit the OTC, but it's one of those stocks where you can find structure and make some trades and some long-term investments and stuff. I tend to wheel trade that one often, and sometimes I'll just swing it depending on the conditions. But every once in a while, you'll find a good penny stock to do that with. So they're out there. It's just one of those things where you got to take more than a pound of skepticism with them for long-term stuff, but scalp them. Absolutely make money on them. That's what they're there for. So. I got a few on my list, and then we can kind of wrap. One I started looking at was Tesla, and it's just doing this magical follow-through. It blew through our analyst target, and we're looking for a move to 247 here as the next pivot level. Just took off like crazy today, of course, with the whole we know a lot of the mid caps, large caps, and especially the small caps are going to pick up from any interest rate drop. We kind of know that. But you go into the 2 hour here, and we got a pretty nice setup for a follow through on a full measure move right to that 247.25 target. And I think we're going to probably accumulate here a little bit first, kind of fade a little bit through witching day, and then maybe pick up the rest of the trend in the next week. So next Tuesday, I'm going to start looking at this on my list a little bit more. But so far, it's pretty much met every pivot I've ever put on this chart. It just plays right to them, man. And it's just a simple matter of either whack-a-mole when it pops up, it hits one and rejects, or it's a matter of just trade from one pivot to the other bullish. And it's been one of my favorite stocks to trade for forever since I started trading. I love trading Tesla. It's beautiful. TSLT, same. I mean, you're probably getting some pretty good inflows today, I'd imagine, on TSLT. Get that leverage.
We'll see. I mean, some decent volume. I mean, this micro strategy is just insane. The volume just keeps going and going and going. But yeah, I mean, Tesla T is up 13.5%. That doesn't suck.
No, that's
and I bought it yesterday, which doesn't suck either.
There you go. And it's kind of you compare it to Tesla. I got different dope for this one than I do for Tesla, but I tend to keep it simpler on this one, so it's less irritating to look at. But mean reversion's done on this move here, and then, like I said, if witching day does what it does, expect accumulation around this level. Same for TSLT, and then maybe we follow through with a continuing bull trend to the next target. So same. And I love this thing. This thing just trades very nice for me. That and of course NVDX. That thing's a ripper too. Speaking of NVIDIA, I think we already talked about it, but let's go look at a couple others in this tech sector. Well, at least one and then the other. AMD, kind of following through. If you count this as a trend, that looks like a double bottom. It's not. It's an accumulating wedge. But it's made its reversion target once, and we're hitting it again. There's a liquidity zone here. Watch for some profit taking between like 158 and 162. But if it pushes through that liquidity, it's set up for a really nice move. I'll mark it on the daily.
It failed at the 200-day in mid-August, and it looks like it's headed there again. So yeah, we'll see.
And it's, for now, it's if we got long on it, it's a good time to maybe consider taking some profit. But look at what happens if it melts through that. We get a pretty good run right up to about 167.5, maybe a little higher, and possibly a shot. I mean, this is a little rare, but we might see that 86.6 fib push to 180 afterwards if things remain bullish, and that's a little bit under a 2-for-1 move from this primary leg here. So I'm liking it for long-term bullish if it gets through those targets. So I'm watching it, of course, in that liquidity zone and paying very close attention to that. And if it crushes the sellers and starts to push on, we start to find some new money following into some price exploration above this level. We could see some things get to shabugi mode. So kind of like it. Another sector or another tech stock that I've been watching, of course, is Crowd. I mean, that thing just that's a trader's paradise chart too. Well, hi, JG. Thanks for the comment. Reversion target pretty plain. About 305, 306 is a reversion in play. Looking for this to be a primary. I'd love to see some accumulation here within this wick here. There were some sellers there on the last impulse move. Let's mark that out on the daily with a little liquidity zone here. We've almost stretched that zone end to end in today's price action. So, we're looking for maybe accumulation here, witching days tomorrow, follow through with some accumulation here, and maybe get into, resuming that trend back to that reversion target about 305, 80-ish. So whenever there's disaster and failure, you can profit from failure shorting really quick. It's always stairs up and window down. In this case, some say elevator down. I like to say window down when I see this stuff. But the reversion, that half back trade, man, it's a primo setup, and usually they follow through. They're usually pretty easy to pick off, and half back falls right at 305.88 to the number. So let's see what we get for follow through on this. We could get a little bit breezy and find that this primary takes it a little bit beyond that and gets to like 315. That's possible. But for now, watch this LZ here. If we break through, we got a pretty good shot at running bulls and getting that half back target. And, it'll be a stairs up situation. It'll be slow and grindy. Expect accumulation in this range, of course. I'll say it again. Tomorrow is quad witching day. Expect sideways garbage everywhere you look. And then maybe next week we'll see some follow through. With respect to the market structure, though, so, pay attention to this. It's never really had its market structure from the past here. You got the hype wave. It pushed no real accumulation in this area. Still running on hype and hopium, so be a little skeptical on the stock. If it rejects here, market structure would take it right back to the 90s and accumulate for quite a while. So, definitely be nimble to take profit on this thing when things present themselves. And this, window down scenario here can repeat on accumulation in this range. So, if things get really swifty here and it, does the Rick and Morty thing, takes the pants off and craps on the floor, well, that target lines up beautifully, guys. So, take some skepticism in the crowd fund or crowd strike. It can happen. But for now, scalp it. It's got some great moves, and I've done pretty well with it myself. So it's definitely always on my radar. Wrap up a couple more here. We got one that popped up on our breakout scanner. Actually, two that popped up on our breakout scanner. I'll start with ILMN here. I got a big picture look at that one. Pretty nice setup, as choppy as it is for a 1-for-1 move. It did hit a key pivot area here at about 135.85, and that's just the 86.6 fib also of the previous high. if it accumulates here and starts to show some follow through, a half a move takes the target to about 140.70. You can see there's some previous liquidity there, that big tall wick standing out nice and proud to the left here. Falls right in that line. And this one could be a good follow through trade for either a half or whole measured move. If it gets to the whole measured move, look further left. That's one giant double bottom. And the actual reversion trend target is all the way up here at like 210. This one gave us the breakout indication yesterday, and sure enough, we could see it accumulate and break here. Has it completed market structure before? No. We're just in the first legs of it, so it can trade in this range completely between 100 and 150 for a while. But this is a pretty easy reversion target, and that's not even half of this whole trend. So this one might be an up-and-comer for the later investment grade stuff, and then maybe some good swings. But in the short term, medium term, measured moves are playing out pretty well on it. Last but not least, I've got another one that kind of, I don't even know what these guys are about, but RVLV, weird stock.
I know this one. I've traded this one before.
Revolve Group.
I get it mixed up with EVLV. It's not even EVLV. What is this thing?
I don't think we've even looked at this one since we were bagging on Kramer. Not to say we ever stopped bagging on Kramer, because we still do, but he, as I recall,
e-commerce fashion. Got it.
Yeah. And I seem to remember him saying, buy this thing. And then we got the big, nasty Kramer bar immediately after. And I pointed out that, hey, that's a liquidity zone. And then he came back again and said, buy it. And we're like, no, this is market structure, short it. Now it's come to the end of market structure. It's above the key resistance level. It was like 23.87, $24, whatever it was right here in that pivot. And we're working our way back to liquidity. So up here to maybe $30, $35 is possible. Well, $30, $33. And, that move's pretty easy to spot. It's already made a 1-for-1 if you consider this as your impulse. There was the reversion line. Easy trades there. And then it popped up on our breakout scanner once it broke out yesterday above this level, above this previous high. So this can take us into primary move, accumulation. Secondary move would take us just a hair under this liquidity zone. I'd say eyeballing it at about 29.25 or so. If this extends this rally, it could go there. Would I invest a lot in this stock? Probably not, but market structure says it will look like a good runner pretty soon, I think. So, kind of look at this one like we would with anything else that we're a bit skeptical on. Just be nimble until it starts to swing into a trend, and then we can just trade the trend. If it looks like this again, great. So keep eyes on this one. I like this one. I think that's about it for stocks I have.
Nothing new here. I mean, I'm bullish from the standpoint of don't fight the Fed.
Yeah.
I am a bit concerned what they know that made them think they should do 50. But for now, I'm, don't fight the Fed, but just have your head on a swivel.
Absolutely. There's going to be lots of stuff to turn your head sooner than later. And there was speculation of a surprise to like 75 base points, but I couldn't put any weight in that for good reason. But it sure turned out some nice scalps yesterday. It made my 3-week goal in one day yesterday with futures. So I mean that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Looking at future news coming out, I mean it's going to be kind of maybe a little more sideways than anything next week and possibly into the week after with some follow through possible. But long term, let me get QQQ up here. Let's just do that. Long term, we've got this wedge that's just kind of poking around in range. I've got some other dope on here. So this chart's pretty nasty. I usually trade a lot shorter time frame on QQQ, but I use this to reference my futures trades on NQ, and this angular stands out to me in this giant wedge we're forming over the long term here, and then the weekly chart tells me that we're itching for half back in this thing, but we may not. We've already made it right there. So now we've got this accumulation, and we could either spike in the middle of the range, or we could break out. Well, this week, being that the Fed gave that rate cut, we got a breakout bar. So we typically will see on the weekly, a breakout bar will tend to follow for a pullback test support, because the market has to discover if it's going to be true or not. And in the 2-hour chart, we see exactly that. We could fall back, test this liquidity zone between like 481 and 483, and into witching day, it kind of makes sense. But if we get a full-on breakout, we compress the chart here so we can see what's possible. If this becomes our primary move, and I'm going to take it to the reversion instead, but if you look at this whole move and then spike that up, I mean, we're looking at the 500s, and right to $500 is where that box stops. All-time high to your left here, 505.20. It's not like we haven't been here before. 86.6 fib of that high. If you go high to low on the range to this reversion target here, the 462 pivot, it's right on the money, right at $500. So if things get swifty and we start to continue trending sometime between next week and the week after, and the Fed news has kind of been the Kickstarter on that, we got our breakout bar. We got targets in the next week at like 486, 485 is half a move, whole move's 500. That's a hell of a lot of dollars to play into this, and that's the market. So things are looking pretty bullish in the long-term outcome and medium-term outcome. So wait and see if this is going to test support in this range tomorrow and the next day, maybe into Tuesday next week, and we start to see some accumulations and money flows into the market and pick up some trends. But looking good so far. I think the Fed did us a favor here, and you can't short the Fed. Don't try. Their balance sheet is impressive, and they can move it any way they want. As Buffett would say, the market can remain,
irrational longer than you can remain solvent. I think it was Keynes, not Buffett.
That's right. But yeah, you get the idea. Let the market do its thing. We just scalp it in between. And for the long-term stuff, I like to generate income on it while it trades around. So I mean, that's my deal. Come to boot, like TNA, I crush TNA, guys. Yesterday, I was able to sell a $50 call at like I think I got $1.25 credit for it, and then bought it back at 60 cents yesterday, and then closed with my long position overnight, and then this morning sold that same $50 call for $1.30. I mean, easy money on that one. Looking at would I sell puts here? Maybe not, because the small caps, we get a big boost when the Fed cuts rates, but that's some pretty wicky price action if you look at it on the daily. Pullback could be like between 43 and 40 is about the reversion of this trend line here. So I'm going to wait before I start selling any puts, but I'm going to start leaning on covered calls in this number right around the $50 mark, between 48 and 50, and it's kind of reasonable. That isn't a high wave. That's not a full breakout. That's not committed yet. So give that some time. This is just my favorite leveraged ETF to wheel trade, but I've got a couple others, and TSLT and NBDX are right on the money with it. So I like.
Again, options on MSTU tomorrow.
Heck yeah. If it gets the volume like the equity volume is today, that thing will immediately start pushing out some weeklies, I think.
Yeah.
Once it hits weeklies, I'm excited. So that's the kind of thing that gets me in motion on wheel trade and stuff like that. And I'm floored at how fruitful TNA has been this year for me. Last year and the year before, in the Bullish Bears, we had a couple of fund managers join to learn the wheel trade, and private equity fund managers. Once they picked it up, I mean, they were running it on TQQQ and a couple other leverage things, and just knocking it out of the park. I mean, they were outperforming their previous 10-year performance, which is saying a lot. Learn that strategy and then learn how to tweak it, modify it and be a little more active than passive in it, and you start to really accumulate some high worth numbers where you're going to outperform everybody, whether it's your personal portfolio or if you're a fund manager. That strategy works. It makes money. All right, with that, I think we can wrap. We're about 5 minutes to the half-hour mark here, and we've been on for almost an hour. I think we did good, and we'll do better, and we'll wear our elbows out, man, patting ourselves on the back because we're knocking it. We'll see you again next week, and we'll be back. We got Tuesday, I think. Got anything coming up?
Let's see. Tuesday. This is I am around.
Cool. We'll be doing double up next week too, Tuesday and Thursday. So come join us. And like I said, I love it if you like and subscribe. Hit the bell or whatever. But above all, tell your friends. We're here to help people. If you ever want to throw us a ticker to look at, if it's not one that we've looked at already, feel free. We love just sitting here and doing our thing with technical analysis. It's how we live. It's how we pay our bills. And we'd love to help you learn how to do that too. That's why we're here. That's why we do this. We love helping people. We can